Hello everybody and welcome to our next instalment of the SUMT Faith Within Reach podcast. And today, very excitingly, I am sat with Emma Nudd, who works for Broadway Baptist Church. Emma, please tell us 3 interesting things about yourself.
3 interesting things. Okay. Hello everyone, to begin with. 3 interesting things. I have 2 children, which is vaguely interesting.
Very interesting.
I'm from the east side of London. The east side of London. Whoever says the east side of London, or just East London. And what is another interesting thing about me? I drive a Fiat 500 convertible.
That is very, very interesting and exciting, especially on the Isle of Man.
Yeah, the roof doesn't come down much.
Because it's not meant to, or it's broken?
No, because it's the Isle of Man and it normally rains.
Right, yeah, that makes sense.
Or it's like blowing a hoolie.
So you didn't go round with the roof down in Storm Dara with 100-mile-an-hour winds?
No. In the summer we have it down. The summer we have it down, on the 3 days of summer that we get.
I bet your kids find it really cool.
They do. They love it. In fact, they always ask, can we put the roof down? Can we put the roof down in Storm Dara? Yeah. No, we cannot. It will blow away.
Excellent. And Emma, how long have you worked at Broadway?
I've been here for about 8.5 years.
Wow, you're so old.
Thanks. Yep.
And good. What does your role mainly consist of?
So I kind of oversee all of the youth and children's work. So for anyone that is kind of under the age of 18 all the way down, I would oversee all of that. So I oversee all of our Sunday morning groups in all the different age categories that we have, as well as being a part of some of those teams. And then I'll run kind of kids clubs in the week, youth groups in the week, and then we'll do things like alternative Halloween parties, holiday clubs, mentoring, all that kind of extra stuff. But yeah, anything that is kind of under the age of 18, that's me.
Fantastic. Now, Emma, the last 2 podcasts that I've done, the people that I have been chatting with have brought me their favourite Christmas cracker joke. Do you have one?
I don't have a favourite Christmas cracker joke because I'm rubbish at jokes, but okay. I have a Christmas cracker.
Perfect. Well, let's just pretend it's your favourite one.
Great. So, who hides in the bakery at Christmas?
I don't know. Who does?
A mince spy.
Yeah, okay, that's a good one.
It's
I think that got more of a laugh from me than a couple of the others. So congratulations.
Okay, great.
I like that one. And now you can say that's your favourite.
Indeed, thank you, Google.
You got such a laugh on me. So the last 2 weeks, for those people who have already listened, then just bear with me for a minute while I recap for anyone who's not listened. The first Advent podcast that we did, myself and Sam Rotchell, we concentrated on looking at the part of the Christmas story where God brings the messages to people. So we looked at Elizabeth and Zechariah, we looked at Mary's dream, we looked at Mary when Angel Gabriel meets her, and we looked at Joseph's dream as well, and just talked about how amazing it was that God had spoken so clearly after such a long time where he seemingly didn't speak. And last week with Alex Brown, we talked about the shepherds, and Alex has such a heart for those in society who perhaps feel like they're on the fringes, which the shepherds would have felt at that time, and how incredible that God revealed his true character by coming and taking the message of Jesus being born to those shepherds first. And this week, Emma, we are going to talk about the wise men, the kings, the magi in the Christmas story. So I think between you and I, we're going to give a little bit of a synopsis of the story, but I want us to particularly focus on the gifts that the Magi brought Jesus.
Yep.
So before that, can I ask you, what is the best gift you've ever received or given?
Best gift I've given, definitely remember that. I reckon it's probably, I bought Christopher, my husband, a guitar 1 year for his birthday.
Nice.
And he loves that guitar. It's called Esmeralda.
Lovely.
And it's a really beautiful sounding guitar. And I'm really proud of that gift, actually.
Well, it's thoughtful because he plays guitar. If he didn't play guitar, Might have been a bit of a rogue choice.
Well, absolutely. But he does play guitar, so that saved me.
Okay, amazing. Do you consider any of the gifts that you've got for people this year to be particularly awesome?
Yes.
Are you able to speak about them, or do you think it might give it away to someone?
It depends on if they listen.
Okay.
When will this go out?
On Sunday, this Sunday. So
okay.
Pre-Christmas.
So, yeah, I'll do it, and I'll just say that they can't listen to it until after.
Perfect.
That's
Great.
fine. So I have bought, again, Christopher, a gift this year
so excited.
that so we were on holiday years and years ago, pre-children, and he saw something that to this day he still regrets not buying. I found it.
Oh, that is awesome.
So it's actually it will become the favourite thing I have ever gifted, because he's going to love it. And I found it after like 8 years of never finding this thing. I found it.
That is amazing.
That. So I'm actually really proud of that one.
Yeah, I can tell.
really
obviously,
proud.
Those people who are listening cannot see quite how excited Emma is, but the sheer joy on her face shows that this is definitely a good gift.
Yeah.
I think I'm okay at gift giving. I think I have given some pretty good gifts. So thinking of like thoughtful gifts, thinking of a person.
Yeah.
We got my eldest child an electric drum kit.
Nice.
Last Christmas.
You're brave.
It was like third hand. We found it on Facebook Marketplace, and there's some bits that are a little bit dodgy on it, but we couldn't really afford like a brand new one. And it's like his safe place. He just puts I've been very clever, so we don't have an amp, so you can only hear it through earphones. Yeah, exactly.
Well done.
So he kind of just takes himself away, and I think that is so spot on.
Yeah.
And then other ones, I think I'm a little bit rogue. So, for instance, I don't know if my mum's going to listen to this, but her Christmas present this year, they look so creepy. You might have seen them advertised on the internet. They're gardening gloves, but the end of the fingers are claws. I know, right? So you could and I think sometimes I am a bit wacky with gifts. Last year I got my dad oven tray separators, and I was so excited by this because I thought it was brilliant. Because then on one oven tray you can separate all your different things for roasting.
Yep.
Yeah,
clever.
There was such a silence when he opened it. I think everyone...
Disappointed.
Confused. I think confused. Have you ever given or received a really bad, off-the-mark present?
I definitely received an off-the-mark present. I think this is my go-to answer, though, because it was so shocking and no one's ever topped it.
Yeah.
1 year I received a desk hoover.
Oh, yeah.
And I didn't have a desk. And it was tiny. I don't like those things. They're not good.
No.
Not good. But it was a tiny little Henry Hoover-esque thing, and it was a desk hoover. But I didn't have my own desk at that point. So it was utter garbage.
So you just had a tiny hoover. Did you ever use it? Or did you re-gift it swiftly?
You know what? I actually can't remember whatever happened to it. And the multiple times I've probably moved house since then, it's miraculously disappeared.
But your kids would love it now, though.
Well, yeah, they would. It would be really irritating, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
We'd find like the world's smallest little piece of Lego in there or something.
I love the sound of Lego being hoovered up. If I'm ever having a really bad day and I'm cross at the kids, sometimes I just go and do a bit of revenge hoovering. I just love the sound of it going up the tube. Right. Well, we've definitely gone off track. So what I thought it would be good to do is, because we're talking about gifts, if you are somebody who prefers to be doing stuff when you're listening, or especially if you're listening with kids, then perhaps you just want to pause the podcast now, and if you've got any Christmas gifts that you have been putting off wrapping, you know you need to do it, then please go and get them, get the wrapping paper, the sellotape, and you could get a whole job done whilst listening to our dulcet tones. Isn't that a good idea, Emma?
Excellent idea.
Exactly.
You should go wrap presents.
Exactly. So, Emma, what I'd like us to do is I'd like us to give a bit of a synopsis of the story of the wise men, the Magi, from the Bible, because I think we always assume that people just know the Christmas story from carol services and all of that. But sometimes we miss out things, sometimes we misremember. So I, in front of me, have got a children's Bible. I've actually got, it's 100 Bible stories by Vic Parker and Miles Kelly. So I'm going to be referring from that. Emma's got a normal Bible, and we're just going to flick through the story, and any bits that stand out to us, we can comment on. So you've already had in the story the bit where Jesus has already been born. So they've gone to Bethlehem, and then whilst all of that is going on, it tells us that far away in distant lands to the east, there were some wise men who were astrologers. And the Bible tells us that they kind of studied the heavens, they studied what was going on in the stars and the planets. That was their job. They were super, super clever, big-brained people. And one night, all of a sudden, what should appear in the sky?
A star.
Yeah, a brand new star. Which I would imagine, if you spent your life studying stars, is a pretty exciting moment.
It'd be quite shocking, wouldn't it? Like, for this unexpected thing to pop up, and for you to then begin, and they would have then begun to consult like ancient documents and all of that kind of stuff, wouldn't it, to figure out why has this star appeared, where has it come from, all of that. And I wonder how unusual looking it was. Like, we don't actually know that, the Bible doesn't tell us, but for it to not just be a brand new star, but for them to be so, actually we need to figure out where this star has come from. There must have been something, I mean, you would assume bright, but it must have been something about this star that caught their attention particularly.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, even, you know, when it's really, really dark on the Isle of Man, which we're so lucky to have that, and you can see the stars, there's always one or two that stand out far more than the rest. And I kind of wish I knew more about the stars, but also I don't have enough time to study them. But I agree, for them, it must have been really exciting. If that's your thing, if that's the kind of subject that you've dedicated your whole life to look at and study, it must have been really exciting.
Do you reckon it was bigger than all the other? Do you reckon it appears and it wasn't like a normal? I mean, I don't know what a normal size star is, but
well, you've got the North Star, haven't you?
Yeah.
Which
do you reckon it was like much bigger?
I think
than
it
that?
was big. Yeah, I think it was like bigger than the North Star. If God does something, He does it properly, doesn't He?
Well, exactly. So I think it would have been like this really obviously bright star for them to be looking at.
Yeah, and if nativity sets from around the world are to be believed, it had one really long spike at the bottom, which pointed all the way down to Bethlehem. Exactly, that's what I imagine it was like. So you just touched on it before, where you said they kind of studied ancient documents, and my version here, my children's Bible, it says they were in no doubt that a great Jewish prophecy had come true, which these guys probably weren't Jews, they're living in a distant land to the east, and yet they instantly believe this Jewish prophecy, this prophecy from God's people throughout the years. So they pack up their camels with loads of supplies, and they set off into the desert, and they follow the direction of the star, and they first of all arrive in the city of Jerusalem. And who is there? Dun dun dun.
King Herod, our good old villain
behind you. So Herod is there, and Herod is obviously the king at the time, so he is not best pleased to hear these magi, these wise men, come along and ask where this new king of the Jews is, because that's what they believe the prophecy is saying, that a star in the sky will appear when when the king of the Jews has been born.
In my version it says, when King Herod heard this, so when the magi had told him, he was troubled. Like, that's not just like being troubled, that's like an internal response to something, isn't it?
He's worried about his own position and power.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. But he's clever, isn't he? He doesn't give anything away that he is stressing about it and that he wants to get rid of this new king of the Jews. He plays it quite innocently, actually. So he calls all the chief Jewish religious leaders together, and he kind of asks them, well, if there is a new king of the Jews, if there is a Messiah, what does it say about him? Where will he be born? And they answer that he is going to be born in Bethlehem. So King Herod's got that important information, and he orders the wise men to come to him, but he says do it in secret. So he's keeping all of these under wraps. And I would imagine that the wise men were pretty nervous when they're summoned to see the king, because he had quite a reputation of being a cruel leader.
Which would have been something, because they would have been used to kings, right? These are people that would have interacted with royalty in some way, shape, or form. So for them to have been nervous or worried, that would have been something, because this wasn't an unusual situation for them, not really, not to go to a king.
No, that would have been their job, wasn't it? Interpret the stars and give wisdom to people. And they must have been quite brave anyway, because they rode camels, and camels, quite frankly, are terrifying. So there we go, that as well. But they were surprised to find him polite, interested, and even helpful in their quest, is what my Bible says. So he's playing along. He's like, oh, I really want to know where this new king is. I would like to worship him and pay my respects to him too. So go and find him. I've been told Bethlehem might be quite a good place. When you found him, come back and tell me all about it. And the wise men are like, oh gosh, you've behaved a lot better than we thought we did. So they probably got new supplies. They got back on their terrifying camels and they set off to Bethlehem, and they follow the star to where it appears to hang biggest and brightest in the sky. That's what I find interesting. Yeah. So God must have made this star so obvious that once you were under it, you were like, this is where I'm meant to be. I can't even comprehend what that star looked like.
Do you reckon it... So I'm just thinking then, does it grow? So it was, when it appears, it needed to stand out against the rest, right?
Yeah.
So it was probably bigger and probably like slightly brighter. But by the time they get to where they need to be, God would have had to have signaled that. So does that mean it got bigger and it got brighter? So
I honestly
God
have no idea.
Made this star even more than what it was in the first place. I
can't even imagine, because this is why I love studying stories that you think you know so well over and over again. Because also, I don't know much about stars, but I do know that obviously the Earth is constantly rotating. So if you look at stars at 7 p.m, by the time it's like 2 a.m, the stars that were over there are now over there. So how did they...
So this star did not follow the rotation
exactly
of the Earth, isn't it?
This is where I know. This is where we need like a super brainy scholar. If any of you listening know more information about this, please get hold of us, because I do genuinely want to know.
And I love it because in my version, it says when they see the star, they were filled with joy.
Yeah.
Like, that is, again, another internal response to what they are. They know that they are seeing something so special. Yes. They are seeing something that is not normal, that is not average, and it fills them with joy.
Yeah. Even though this isn't part of their heritage. They didn't know anything about this prophecy before. If you were from a Jewish family, if you had been studying the scriptures your whole life, your parents had, your grandparents had, you would know the prophecies that were in Isaiah. You would know them like the back of your hand. And so the fact that they're filled with this much joy about something that isn't even part of their heritage, I love that, because just like God revealing himself to the shepherds, people on the outskirts, we straight away see that Jesus coming to earth to be with us was for anybody. It was even for the people that this is not part of their heritage, which is amazing.
It's them experiencing the presence of God, isn't it? Through the joy of being a part of what they're a part of, this massive bigger picture that they would have had no idea they were a part of. Actually, it's the presence of God, being filled with joy at something so godly, so destined, so prophesied. Actually, it's the presence of God, and they are within that, whether they realize it or not. They are moving along that road, aren't they?
Yeah, definitely. And then they find the baby not in a palace like they thought they would do if they're finding the king of the Jews. They just find the baby in an ordinary home. So we assume that they're no longer in the stable, because this is kind of a little bit after. Probably not that much after, because if you didn't live in Bethlehem and you were poor like Mary and Joseph, you're probably not going to fork out for a long time away. Just an ordinary baby, ordinary parents, ordinary home. But they bow to worship him. And then this is the bit that blows my mind. They present Mary and Joseph with gifts, and they're not your usual, here's a baby grow, here's a voucher for boots, some wet wipes and a bib. Instead, it's jeweled gold caskets, and then rare spices. You've got frankincense, and myrrh.
Yeah.
Amazing. Also possibly inappropriate gifts for a baby.
Super inappropriate.
But we know that those are revealing something about
Yeah.
the baby. So gold was your standard gift to present and take to a king. So straight away, these wise men are kind of living out that prophecy that Jesus is the king, and they're giving him gold. And we have no idea what happened to these gifts after. We don't know if Mary and Joseph kept them the whole life. We don't know if they sold them because they needed food or whatever else. But they're given gold for this baby. And then frankincense. What do we know about frankincense?
So frankincense is about worship, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's about, and that's what they came to do. It tells us in Scripture, doesn't it, that they came and they worshipped Jesus, and the frankincense is the physical representation of their worship to this king.
Very expensive.
Yeah.
Have you ever smelt it?
I have. I love frankincense.
I really like
I would
it.
love to have frankincense going off in my diffuser, but you know.
You mean no one bought it when you had your children?
No, I did not give birth to baby Jesus. So
yeah, so they would have, again, this would be an incomprehensibly expensive gift for a family like Mary and Joseph. You get given kind of this, it would have either been like oil, or you can get it in like a gum, and you would burn the gum, like the resin.
Oh, wow.
So it might have been like that, we're not sure, and it would have smelt amazing. But again, you would not offer that to a standard person. That's the kind of thing that you would take to a temple, or you would use to worship. So they're marking him out straight away as worshipful. And this is where I wonder if God had to choose people who were not from the Jewish tradition, because that would have seemed almost heretic for a Jewish person to take those kind of gifts to a baby like that. You wouldn't mark them out as a king and someone to be worshipped, because obviously you've got one true God. You wouldn't see God in a baby, would you?
I wonder, when did they get these gifts? Did they arrive in Bethlehem, go purchase the gifts? Or did they travel with them, which means God spoke to them and said, you don't actually know where you're going yet, you don't know why you're going there, but I need you to take these 3 things with you. Did they pick them up
in
along
Jerusalem?
The way? Like, when did these 3 gifts...
Did Herod help them get them?
Yeah,
How do you even know?
Well, exactly, and what compelled them to pick these things? You know, that's clearly God speaking to them. You need to have these 3 things when you meet the Messiah. You need to have these 3 things. But when did they get them? Did they travel with them for the few weeks ahead of time? Or did they pick them up in Bethlehem and God was like, you need to go find these things, and they were just there? Like, fascinating.
Really fascinating. And finally, the one that is the most unusual gift to give a baby, myrrh, which was used to embalm the bodies of the dead. What a strange gift to give a baby, but they had something revealed to them in their hearts that the pinnacle of Jesus' life would be his death. And how weird for Mary and Joseph to have received that. I would hate to be given something when I had a newborn baby that had any sort of reference to their death.
Yeah, it's the foreshadowing, isn't it, of what is to come in 33 years' time for Jesus. But what would have been Mary and Joseph's response to that? Because, I don't know, do you reckon they knew?
I have no idea. Well,
and
I
she
mean,
was young
again,
as well,
you've got
right?
the prophecies from Isaiah, and it does mention stuff there. Is it after this bit or after the shepherds? At some point, the Bible says that Mary didn't know what any of this meant, but she pondered it in her heart. I love that, because that really speaks to me. I'm a real ponderer. I love to overthink, and that's the kind of thing I would have done. Like, you're doing the everyday baby chores. She would have been feeding him, she would have been changing him, washing him, and yet you're going through the mundane, having had all of this amazing, glorious and sad revelations given to you as well. She knows that it's the Son of God, but also to her, it's just her baby that she needs to feed, and cries, wakes her in the night, all of that.
I wonder if the grace of God protected her from fully understanding.
Yeah.
So she would have known the prophecies. She was Jewish, so she would have known what was to come. I wonder, there is no biblical scripture for this at all, but I wonder if God protected her mind from fully understanding, in 33 years' time, you're going to die, and I'm going to have to stand there and watch you be murdered in the most horrific way. Like, you know when you know something, but your brain hasn't fully comprehended it?
You know it, but you don't know it.
Yeah, I wonder if that was Mary.
Yeah, maybe.
Because otherwise, could you imagine raising your child knowing that you're going to see their death? Yeah.
Or even disciplining them, knowing that they're the child of God, or they are God themselves, sorry. That would be very difficult, wouldn't it? Okay, so 3 amazing gifts, gifts that I definitely have never given or received. And yeah, that's the part of the story we'd really like you to think about and focus on over the next week. And so, as always, as we come into land now, we're just going to give you those 4 things for you to have for the week ahead. Something to read, something to listen to, something to do, and something to pray. So the read one is, again, very simple. Whatever version of the Bible you can get your hands on. Please go away and read the story of the Magi, read the story of the wise men from start to finish, and just ponder over it. And secondly, something to listen. Emma, you have brought us your favourite Advent/Christmas song.
Yeah, it's O Come, Emmanuel. And it is an Advent song as well, isn't it? And I really, lyrically, it's so, so beautiful, and it tells the story, really, but not just the physical story of what we understand to be the nativity story. It's the behind the scenes, it's the spiritual implications of it, and this song covers that. So go listen to that song, O Come, Emmanuel. It's a beautiful
so many different versions out there, aren't there? Yeah. So if you're someone that loves choir music, you'll be able to access that. If you're someone who loves more modern, you'll be able to find a modern worship band doing it. And there's even a lovely instrumental version from Casting Crowns as well, if you just would like to listen to instrumental. Something to do. Emma, this was your suggestion, and I think it is absolutely fantastic. So can you explain what we would like to challenge people to do this week?
Yeah, I think we all, as followers of Jesus, we all kind of have our default ways of worshipping God and connecting with him. And I want to challenge you, whether it's as a family or as an individual or as a couple, to maybe think of a way in which you can express your worship and love for Jesus that is not your usual and familiar way of doing it. So challenge yourself to try something new. If you're not someone that thrives off of singing, not everyone does, give it a go. See what that's like. If you are someone who doesn't do stillness and silence, give it a go. Think about a way in which you can connect with God and express your worship and love for him in a way that is unfamiliar to you, and see what happens.
That's really great. Perhaps if you're a parent or a grandparent listening, perhaps you could ask your children or your grandchildren how they would worship best, and you do it with them. Even if you end up jumping around the living room listening to some wacky children's song, then do it. Jesus loves all forms of worship. And finally, to pray, we would like you to challenge yourself this week to just think of those 3 gifts that the Magi brought Jesus, and think about what that reveals about who Jesus was, and pray into those 3 parts of Jesus. So this Christmas, instead of just thinking about a baby in a manger, let's be really praying into the fact that he is our King, and that is why he was brought gold. That he is to be worshipped, because he is God himself. That's why they brought him frankincense. And also, let's remember, although it's difficult to do when we're thinking about a baby in a manger, let's remember that he chose to die for us so that we could be together forever, and that's why the myrrh was given to him. Thank you so much, Emma. This has
Oh.
been exciting and wonderful.
Excellent. Thanks for having me. It's been great.
And hopefully we'll be able to chat to you again in the future.
Yes, sounds good.
Have a brilliant week.